Welcome then to part 4 of the video series, and this is all about exercise and how obviously this is affected from injuries and your kind of the rehab process. So what I really want to bang home here is that just because you're injured doesn't mean you still can't do any exercise. So for my example is if you've broken your leg or you've torn your calf muscle, or you've done something to obviously your lower limbs, it doesn't stop you from doing any kind of core work and working on your abs and anything like that. And it also doesn't stop you from working on kind of your like upper back and like shoulder muscles. You can still do exercises related to that. You may not be able to do the same exercises that you've been doing prior to your injury, but you'll be able to kind of adapt and maybe mold them around your injury, so you can still do some sort of training, and also it stops your whole body from losing muscle mass and using the condition that he had before the injury. I think this is the most like key issue that a lot of people tend to struggle with, is that once you've got the injury, you just think, oh, just give up on everything, and then you get kind of the issues going back to obviously how this is all interlinked, the emotional states and the stress, because some people, I mean, you feel like you've lost your identity if you can't go and do the sport that you've spend doing 3 times a week, 4 times a week, or anything like that. You feel like a big gaping hole of you is missing, and I think this is also quite relevant because I'm currently filming this during lockdown, so a lot of people obviously go to the gym anyway. Obviously you haven't got an injury as such, but you're still not allowed to go to the gym. So I've seen a lot of people kind of say they almost feel like a bit of their identity's gone because they saw themselves as a big weightlifter or bodybuilder, and they really can't go and do the things that associate with the identity. But just because obviously you can't do that exact form of exercise doesn't mean you still can't go for a run, and like I said, doesn't mean you can't adapt. So you've got lower leg injury, and vice versa. If you've got an injury to do with your, say for example, your rotator cuff, you can then go and do stuff. You could go and get an exercise bike. Obviously, if you've got a dodgy shoulder, you don't want to be going on a normal bike, but obviously a stationary exercise bike, you can jump on that, and that just keeps the legs working and blood flow going. And like I said, the key thing is that you don't lose the conditioning for the rest of your body. So you may have to obviously come to the realization that you can't keep on for now doing the sport and maybe even the daily activity that you used to do, for example, gardening and everything, but you'll be able to adjust what you do and look for something that, most importantly, you can do, and look for the positive spin on things. And this is really because, as my slide says, exercise is great for, well, it also ties in obviously with sleep and as well as stress, because it helps lowering your resting heart rate. It helps your blood pressure, blood sugars, hormone levels. So like in the previous video I was on about the pituitary gland releasing the hormones which help with regeneration and helping healing from the cells. So it will help obviously with that side of things, and that's with increasing blood flow and everything and circulation. This obviously increases local tissue healing because it means more of the good stuff can get to the injured area, which helps then obviously with the healing process. So these are just a few of the many ways exercise can help, and hopefully you're now beginning to see, obviously I mentioned this before, the link between everything. It's not just one bit about this, one bit about that. It's all intertwined. So obviously, like I said, the blood pressure and the heart rate, that's obviously related to obviously the sleep side of things I've just talked about, and also the stress, for example. So even now, if with exercise being the last thing that you probably want to do, like I said in the first slide of this video, you still want to try and kind of fit this in around you, and hopefully now I'll be able to persuade you otherwise. And it's not just doing the fact that you may, like I said, you may not be able to do running or cycling, but you may be able to pick up other things such as Pilates, or do some yoga stretches, for example, that will help benefit the areas that can be a bit more mobile and can do things. And even though obviously you've got your injury, so the key thing here is to don't let your head drop and just think, oh, I'm just gonna have to sit here and do nothing. And for example, what I can say is, if you've been to a physio back in maybe like the 80s or something like that and you were presenting with a bad back, way back then the advice unfortunately was, which has done a U-turn these days, the advice was to lie on like a stiff board or just be bed bound for the next 3 or 4 weeks, because they thought resting would be good for you. But since then, thankfully, they found that obviously doing that is not great at all and can make your back pain worse, because obviously being bedbound for 3 or 4 weeks means you're not using any of your muscles, any of your core stability, any of your legs or arms really to do anything. So all your muscles start to waste away, and like I said, you lose your conditioning. So then it makes everything 4 times as worse trying to get back out of that situation. So you still want to try and keep some form of level of activity, even though it's obviously not going to be where you were pre-injury, but it's just important to keep things ticking over nicely. So there you go, that's a little bit more about exercise and a bit of the benefits, and like I said, why it's really important to try and keep doing some form of exercise, no matter how small it could be to you, so it's so beneficial for you in the long term. So if you've got any more questions and maybe you've got some ideas of what you want to try to keep you ticking over during lockdown, I mean, like I've said, in my clinic sessions, I like to try and prescribe a little exercise, so even that may be enough to help keep you ticking over and keep you busy. But if you'd like any more information, feel free to drop me a message, and in the next video I'll be going on about how adherence to exercise plans can really help speed up your recovery and stop you taking anywhere near as time as it could do if you kind of steer off the course of adhering to the exercises. So as always, I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.